Hey everyone, I want to talk about a story that came out a few years ago, and it was basically about El Chapo Guzman, the former drug lord from Mexico. This story was basically about a letter he had supposedly written to the lawmakers and former and current president of the United States. In this letter, he basically says, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say, gracias amigos, I owe my whole empire to you. Now, why would he say something like that to our lawmakers and presidents? It's because he knows that without the war on drugs, without the prohibition of drugs, he wouldn't have been able to amass 1 cent of wealth from these drugs. When the government prohibits any product, it basically is saying that no one who isn't willing to use violence, fear, and intimidation can make $1 off these products. It insists that all the market share, all the power, all the wealth, all the weaponry go to only the people who are willing to point guns at other people and say, I own this market, you need to get out now. And like I said before, I use the word supposedly because he supposedly wrote this letter. A lot of people say it's fake, and I'm inclined to agree. I think it might be fake. But here's the thing. It doesn't really matter if it is fake. If El Chapo had said these things, it would have made perfect sense for him to say them. No one with a good understanding of the economics behind prohibition would have scratched their head in confusion for 1 second. They would have said to themselves, oh, that makes perfect sense. A drug dealer, a violent person who cannot exist in a competitive free market that isn't pushed down into the black market, they would have never flourished. Once you prohibit a product and you force it into the black market, only those who will use violence gleefully will ever rise to the top of the market. So basically what happens is prohibition creates an opportune situation for violent criminals to take hold of the market share for whatever product is being prohibited. For example, Al Capone would have never existed if not for the prohibition of alcohol in the US in the 20s and 30s. He never would have existed. Who knows what he would have done otherwise, but he certainly wouldn't have been able to kill all the people he did, and he certainly wouldn't have been able to amass the wealth that he did if it weren't for the ridiculous prohibition of alcohol in the early 1900s in the United States. There was a great report done by Count the Costs, and in this report, it has a fantastic quotation I'd like to share with everybody. Basically, it says, politicians cannot hope to win a war on drugs when the policies ensure that only the most efficient trafficking networks survive. Not only do they survive, but they thrive because law enforcement has destroyed the competition for them by picking off the unfit traffickers and letting the most evolved ones take over the lucrative trafficking space. Basically, this brings up another fantastic point. We have taken El Chapo Guzman and we've thrown him into a jail cell. Okay, fantastic. We all pat ourselves on the back thinking that we've done something fantastic. But in reality, all you've done is you've taken the most effective, violent person who controls that black market and you've just created a vacuum. Guess who the next heir to that throne is going to be? It's the unknown person today who's willing to do the next violent thing. The person today who is even more comfortable with violence and killing and murder and kidnapping and fear and intimidation and terror tactics. It's that person who's going to take up the helm. And as we discuss how great things are going to be when the next boogeyman is thrown into a jail cell, the conversation is never steered to the truth of the matter, which is if you legalize these drugs, as terrible as these drugs might be, and just as an aside, I don't use any drugs, but the conversation is never steered towards if you legalize these drugs, guess who doesn't make 1 ounce of profit? The person who's willing to use violence to garner more market share. We're going to continue down this same path, and we're going to be dealing with the same amount of violence and murder that we always have been. The definition of insanity, according to Einstein, is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And by that definition, the United States war on drugs is the most insane thing that we've tried so far. Alright, thanks everybody for listening. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. I'm out.